What's up everyone, my name is Dibz and I'm here with another video for you to talk about the Zerg Queen Inject method that I think is the best, and also specific preferences, tips, and tricks that I have when it comes to Zerg mechanics. In the last video in this series, I went over the very basics of Zerg and how they work, so if you're very new to this game still and you want to check that out, look at the description below and I'll post a link in there. Otherwise, I'm going to dive deeper and more specifically into Zerg methods and mechanics in this video. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to macro better as Zerg using specific Queen Inject method that includes the camera hotkeys, the general usage of Zerg mechanics, and how to better use hotkeys and make yourself a better player. And lastly, the importance of the Zerg Queen. So before jumping into the mechanics of the Queen Injecting, first let's go over the general use of hotkeys. So yeah, let's just start off with an AI game. You want to start with an AI game because you don't have to worry about your opponent trying to attack you or anything else. This will help you with your macro and help you just practice overall in general. Alright, so when it comes to managing your army, whether it comes to micro or macro, it's really important for you to make sure that your groups are organized. You want to make sure that you have specific numbers or specific groups for units and buildings that you want to be able to access again. There are several ways to do this. You can create groups using Control, Alt, or Shift. And this will allow you to reselect that number again on your keyboard, and you can not have to use your mouse to select them all over again. This allows you to manage your army and your macro a lot better. So to start, we're going to start with Control. As you can see, I already made my hatchery on 1. That's what I like to use most of the time. In order to create a new group, all you have to do is select that unit, push Control, and a number, and that will create that group. As you can see, now my hatchery is 1. I have a drone selected, I push Control 1. It will replace that hatchery group with my drone. So you can just go back and forth and create all these groups. As you can see, I just did 1, 2, and 3 if you want. Most of the time, I like to just keep hatcheries on 1, separate queens on 2 and 3, and my army as 4 and 5. I'll go back into that later. But for now, Control is the most basic way to create a group. Another mechanic that you can use to create or add to a group is Shift. So let's say right now I have a group on 1 as my hatchery. If I wanted to add another building, let's say the spawning pool to it, I would select the spawning pool, push Shift, hold it, and then push the same group in my hatchery, which is 1. So I would push Shift 1, and now it will add it to that hatchery. So now I have my hatchery and my spawning pool in that group as well. This will allow you to group a lot of things together, especially units, and this will make it beneficial for you to make your army bigger and control them all at once. Alright, so let's see how this works when it comes to units. So let's say I want to make all of these units into one group. But the thing is, I can't select them all at once because they're not in the same area of the screen. So there's two different ways to do this. One way is you can select each army and push Shift 4. So let's say right now I have this group of ultras right now, and I want to make one army. I would either push Control 4 or Shift 4. Because let's say you want to create and add an army. Shift not only adds to that army on that number, but it also creates that number. So let's say right now there's nothing on 6 right now, right? I can push Shift. I can select this ultra and push Shift 6, and it will create that army. But the thing is, if you have other units in that army, it will add it to it. It won't create a new one and overwrite it. Control is pretty much for overwriting the groups that you have right now. So let's say I have this 4 here with 3 ultras. I can push Control 4, and it won't include these ultras anymore. It will only include these Zerglings. So one way to add them all together is you can select each one separately, Shift 4, right here. So I have 29 Zerglings. I would Shift 4, 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 and Shift 4. Now it would have all of them in the same group. See, now they're all selected with all these units. So let's say I want to create another group without any of these units at all. I would select a hatchery, I would push Control and 4, and it would deselect everything in there, and now only includes that hatchery. So instead of, there's another way that you can group all these units together instead of selecting all these one by one and letting go of the Shift button. What you can do is you can select multiple units by holding Shift. So if you hold Shift down, you can select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can select all of these units. But instead of selecting them one by one, you can box them. So you can go like this, select these infestors, hold down Shift, box click, box click, box click, box click, and shift everything. This doesn't create the group, but it just adds everything to that specific group. If you want to create a group with that after you box clicked everything, you would have to push Control and then 4, as you can see. Right here is only my hatchery. it did not include everything that I selected. So now push control and 4. Now this group includes all of my units. Let's just kill this group. So yeah, that's one use of shifting that I like to do, because it allows you to shift everything together and you can group all of your units a lot more easily instead of having to click, all over the map and figure out what you want and what you need. Another utility that I like to use for shift is the shift queue command, where it allows you to queue up movements on a map. So pretty much you can just hold shift and just right click and it'll show you the path that all your units will take. This will allow you to go back home, macro, do whatever you want. Double tap your army and it'll just come back to your army and see what they're up to. You can do this not only with just movement, but you can use it with attacking as well. You can push A for attack, and you can shift click move anywhere on the map. And if they see any units along that path, they'll attack it. This allows you to do multiple pronged attacks like that, and you can go from one area, you can attack another area, and this allows you to do multiple attacks at once. You can attack from all sides. See, so this army is going this way, this army is going this way, and this army is going this way. This will allow you to set up concaves and just pretty much attack your enemy from multiple sides, which is really useful actually. It's one of the most important aspects of Zerg as a whole, to attack from all sides as many times as you can and just pretty much surround them. Oh, and before I move on from control, I forgot one thing. If you want to, let's say, split up a group and you want to select only those specific units in the army. So let's say I have only, over here, I want to select only the Zerglings in this group. I would have to try to find one of these Zerglings and I can double click it. If you double click it, it selects all the Zerglings on the map that you see. Not like on this entire map, but everything that you see on the screen, it will select those links for you. And so instead of doing that, one thing you can do is you can hold a control and select left click. If you select a unit while pushing control, it selects everything in that army. This allows you to easily separate your army instead of having to double click each one like this. You would have double click and then double click and double click and then double click. You have to be really accurate if you want to just double click everything. But instead, all you have to do is hold control, control move, control move, control move, control move, control move, control move. As you can see, this is without pressing any numbers. If you don't press any numbers, control does that for you. It selects everything, it selects all of the same unit in that army for you. Alright, so let's move on to Alt. Alright, so when it comes to Alt is fairly new in Legacy of the Void. Okay, it is new in Legacy of the Void. It was never in Heart of the Swarm or Wings of Liberty. But what Alt does is that it takes units away from one group and adds it to another, or creates it into another. If you want to make it add to another, all you have to do is just make it Alt plus Shift. So it's pretty much the same thing as Control, except for not only does it create and add to a group, but it steals from the previous group that it was in. This is really useful because it allows you to easily take out a specific group of units, and then use that group of units to harass as well without having to worry about them being in the same group and you like mixing them up and bringing them back as well. So like to put this into perspective, let's say you have this group of 4, or my main group is 4, right? Has 82 units. If I want to attack this hatchery here on this map, on the bottom left, I would do that. And I want to make these lings attack somewhere else. So I want to attack on the left side. But in order to do that, I would have to, or in Heart of the Swarm, I would have to make these into a new group. And then I would have to make everything else in this old group into a new group. And then I would be able to control them separately. Right? Because now, see, this is group of 4 with everything else without the Zerglings. And now this is group of 5 with the Zerglings. So this makes it a lot of work to do. You have to pretty much take them out manually yourself, put them in another group, and then delete them from another group yourself. But what Alt does is that it does everything for you. So what you can do is, right now I have everything, let's see. So I have everything on group 4 right now, right? So if I want to attack one side, all I have to do is attack, select these Zerglings, push Alt 5, and now I have everything done. See, I don't have to deselect anything, I don't have to do whatever, all that. It automatically takes these lings outside of the group and I can easily control them without having to worry about this specific group here, including everything else, or without having to worry about it, including these other ones. So this really does make counterattacking, it makes double pronged attacks a lot easier, it allows you to separate your army a lot more easily without having to worry about you know, whether they're in the same group and they're going to come back. Because let's say I want to attack this group. I want to attack down here. I try to separate this group. I want to attack this way, but I accidentally forget to regroup them or take them out of the group. What happens if I select my original group? The lings come back, and I don't want that, right? So Alt makes attacking a lot easier for me, honestly. So I think that's pretty much everything that I went over for Alt. You can shift, you can change it to shift, like I said before. Because right now the default button for shift right here. Let's see. Unbound. Global. So units, control groups. So right here. Alt. See, I changed it to add it to control group 1 and take away units. It used to be this one right here. Create control group 1 and take away units. So what Alt as a default it will do is it will create a group as well. But most of the time I don't create another group using Alt. I'm used to creating another group using control. So what you can do is you can change all of these to whatever you want, but instead use Alt 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to add control group and take away the units instead of creating another group. This will make it easier for you so that you don't have to push Alt Shift and then a number. Because if you try to push Alt Shift and a specific number to add and put into another group, it makes it really awkward for your hands to do that. So that's why I kind of like to take out the middleman and Shift, and I just push Alt 1 because I usually don't create another group with Alt, like I said. Alright, so I'm going to go over what I typically use for my groups. I'm going to have all these idle drones to just get them working again. Okay. Let's kill this group first. Alright, so what I normally use is I use all my hatcheries. As you can see, I'm selecting them by holding down Shift and Control 1, right? I usually have all of my hatcheries on 1. Okay. This allows me to pretty much to reach my hatcheries very effectively, and 1 is the most common number that people use for armies. 1 and 2 are the ones I use for armies, but since I use hatcheries a lot more than my army, I like to use it as 1, because this allows me to pretty much check to see how much larva is stacked up. You know, if it's more than 3 or if it's at 3, I want to always check to see how much or how I need to spend my larva, because you don't ever want to be capped at 3. Because if you get capped at 3, then you're not going to be making any more larva other than injects, right? So that's why I have bases on 1. I always have bases on 1. I have my queen inject hotkeys on 2. This helps me keep my queen injects in one group, because let's say I want to attack, or I'm getting attacked by somebody in the early game, and like let's say it's drops and I don't have any units. What I can do is I can just easily tap 2, select all of my queen inject queens, and I can group them together and use them to defend, instead of going to each hatchery and be like, okay, I need this queen, I need this queen, I need this queen, I need this queen. That takes way too long, and sometimes you may lose track of your queen if you do that. So what you can do is easily just group all your queens together and just start defending the attack. Also, if you need to deselect them as well and bring them back to their original queen space, you can select each queen with Shift, and it will deselect it from your selection as well. So let's say I want to get one queen out of this. I should have went over this in Shift, but yeah, so let's say you have all these queens selected. You want to deselect one. Let's get rid of this. You want to deselect one queen. All you have to do is push Shift and select one of the queens, and it'll take it out of the group. Shift, select another one, it takes it out of the group, and so on and so on. So now I only have 1, right? So let's do that again. So you want to shift click, shift click, shift click, shift click, like that. You can also shift click this box here as well. So if let's say you want to get rid of 3 queens, 1, 2, 3, right? All you have to do is shift select anything in that box. So let's say you want to do that to this army. You want to get rid of your infestors. Shift select 1, 2. Your infestors are gone. They're not selected anymore. This is another way of micromanaging your units. Let's say you want to scout. So all you have to do is select your army, click on this watchtower, deselect one Zergling, and then select somewhere else and just move somewhere else. What it does is that this Zergling will still go to that tower because you deselected it from the army, and it still has the command to go to that watchtower. So that's another thing that you can do with Shift, right? But yeah, that's what I normally do with my groups. I usually use 1 as hatcheries, 2 as my creep queens, so I can use to defend very easily. I use 3 as my creep queens. This is important for me to spread creep, because if I have a group just for creep queens, this reminds me that, hey man, you need to keep on your creep spread. And pretty much just having a group reminds you that you have to keep on spreading your creep. Not only that, it allows you to easily tab back and forth between your army, and you can check to see how your creep is doing. So let's say you want to inject this creep, or you want to make this creep tumors here. And as you can see, I'm holding shift to create creep tumors as well. You can hold it and just push the creep tumor button and just hold it down and just double click, or just click everywhere. And this will queue up all of these to create creep tumors. Right? So let's say I'm attacking and I want to check to see how my creep tumors are doing. I can come back and be like, oh, I need to spread creep again. And just spread creep, spread creep, spread creep, spread creep, back and forth, right? So you can pretty much just double tap all these back and forth, and it makes it easier for you. Also, for my army, I like to split my army up into two different buttons and two different numbers, usually. 4 would be my main, and 5 would be my casters. So this allows me to micromanage them a lot easier in case I need to do some casting. So let's say I have these 2 casters in this group, I want to get rid of them. Right? So what I would do is I would select these infestors, these ravagers, push Alt and 5, and it gets rid of them, right? So now I have these casters in one group, and I have this army in another group. So what I would do is, in case I need to pull them back and they don't want them to die, you could just do that. 4 attack, run them into the front, push 5 to push them back, and just micromanage them. It makes it easier for you to micro units a lot more efficiently without losing everything, without running them all in the same place. It's pretty important, but then if you're in the beginner level, it's okay to have everything in the same group. But when you get a little bit higher level, it's important to have separate hotkeys for different casters and your main army. Alright, I already went over all the grouping and the uses of Shift, Control, and Alt. So before we get into the Queen Injecting, let's talk about camera hotkeys, because that's the most important part to this Queen Inject method. In order to create a hotkey for a location, you can look in your options, you go to hotkeys, go to global, and let's see, is it camera? Camera. So yeah, create location 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, blah, blah, blah. What I like to do is, in order to create the location, I would use Control F1 through F5, or whatever. Normally, F1 and F2 are your, select all your drones and select your army. Since I rarely use those, I recommend you not to use them because it allows you to micromanage your units a lot more easily. And it's better for you because you can, instead of select everything all at once, you have different armies attacking different areas. That's always good. But let's say if you push the Control Army all key and you selected all your army, then you're going to mess up your formation and they're all just going to come in the same place. So it's really important for you to not use it as much, but if in the lower levels it's okay, but I recommend you not to use it. So since I don't use it that much, I'll usually just click it or use Alt F1. And I replaced F1 with the camera locations. So I would create a unit or create a camera location with Control F1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like I would create groups, which is like Control 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But this is a location, so it's F1 instead. So in order to go back to that camera location, I would do F1, F2, F3, F4, and F5. So that's what I normally do. You can do that in your hotkey location, you can change it. So let's see how that works. So right now I am on my hatchery. So I'll push Control F1 for my first one, and my natural is here. I would push Control F2, and my third is going to be here, Control F3. So I'll push F1, F2, and F3 to cycle, pretty much. Right? So let's get my queens back here so I can show you how to inject. Alright, so what I like to do is keep each hatchery centered on the screen, because if you go through each one and it's not centered, it makes it hard for you to select your queens and inject. What I like to do is I would go to the hatchery I want to center. I'll double tap my hatchery button with all the groups. So 1, 1, it centers it. Then create your location. So let's go to my third, create my location after I double tap once. Right? So let's do it for the fourth, double tap 1, center it, Control F4. So now as you can see, all the hatcheries are centered, right? Looks nice and neat. This allows you to cycle them very easily, just the same way you would use your camera base key. So this is what happens when you push your switch your base key. It just basically goes through each and every one of them, right? Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4. A lot of people like to use the base switch hotkey because it's a lot quicker. It's a little bit quicker. It's not a lot faster. It's a little bit quicker, not that much. But the thing is, I feel like in order to get that down perfectly, you have to time your clicks, or you have to hold down your switch base key and your inject button key at the exact same time. But sometimes, if you don't hold it down correctly, what happens is that you'll have a lot of queens running around. Pretty much, you'll have them injecting other hatcheries they're not supposed to, and it can be inaccurate sometimes. And your queens will be running all over the place, which I don't like. I don't want to risk it. So what I like to do is just use this hammer hotkey location, queen inject. So what I do is you would make sure your bases are set up. So let's go through 1, 2, and 3 only, right? So you would want your queens to be pretty much close to the same area. If not, it's fine. So you would do F1, box, select your queen, make sure it's selected, and you would push your inject button, and then click, right? And then you do the same thing, except you push F2, box, click, F3, box, click, right? So it's actually not that slow once you get the muscle memory down. If you do it and you have your muscle memory down, it'll look like this. That's pretty much just as fast as doing this, doing the base camera hotkey, right? So you can do on multiple ones. You could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can go up to 4. You can set it up to control 5 if you want. You can make your macro hatches as well. So let's set this as a macro hatch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's do it again. Let's say I am attacking with this army, and I need to go back to my base. I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, done. Right? I missed this one too. Yeah, you can do that too as well. So yeah, this allows you to go back to your base very quickly, and you don't really need that base hotkey. For when we talk about, let's say, camera hotkeys as well, this is a little bit more advanced, but what I like to do is I would like to create a camera location where the fight is happening. So let's say I have a fight going on here. I'll make this a camera hotkey location. I would attack here, do my injects, and push the button to go back to the base, or go back to the location where a battle is happening, right? So instead of going back here, let's say I want to inject, I don't know where the battle is happening, I'll have to click here again and do that, which is very inefficient. You know, sometimes you might mess up, you might go to the wrong location, and that can actually cost you the battle. So it takes a little bit of practice to do the camera hotkey inject, but once you get used to it, just do it. Go into a custom game, do this camera hotkey trick 50 times, and pretty much it will become muscle memory. Right. So to show you again, F1, box. It doesn't matter what you box here as well. Let's say, I'll show you this. I have these roaches here, right? And I have these drones here as well. What happens if you box click these workers or these roaches by accident, right? It doesn't matter, because this queen takes precedence since it's a caster. So if you select roaches as well and you push V, it will still select your inject button and it will still inject for you. Even with drones. If you have drones selected, it doesn't matter. So you can make your box as big as you want when you do this. So it makes it pretty easy for you to do this method. Right? So go 1, boom, 1, 2, that. Done. Right? You can just keep doing it over and over and over and over again, just for practice. F1, V, click. F2, V, click. F3, V, click. F4, V, click. Makes it very easy for you. One trick that you can use if you have a ton of energy on a queen, if you want to use all of it on one hatchery. In Legacy of the Void, if you didn't know, you can stack injects, or you can queue up injects. What you can do is you can spend all of this 200 energy on one single hatchery from one queen. And what it will do is it will pop these injects one after the other. So I'll do 1, right? So I use 25 energy, and this is going to go up. I can inject it again, even if it's still going, right? So let's see what happens. After this is done, you can just go back and forth, just to show you, just to do some stuff while I wait. Alright, so this inject is about to be done. What happens is that it automatically queues up the second inject that you just did. It doesn't stack, but it queues it up. So after this is done, let's see what happens. See, it starts again automatically. You don't have to wait around to use all of your energy and make sure you do it again, right? So this makes it very useful in Legacy of the Void, because you can look away for maybe 30 or 40 seconds, and you can come back and then queue it up again. This is good for when you're later in the game where your energy is high sometimes, and it's very useful for you. But what you can do is you can hold your inject button, right? Or let's say push your inject button, V. You would hold down shift and just spam click your hatchery, right? What it does is this queen will inject until it's out of energy, right? Depending on how many times you click. So since it takes 25 energy, you can do it max 8 times. Right? So that's 8 injects that you can look away for a long time. You can just do whatever you want, and you'll have all this larva that you can use. You can do that with every single queen as well. Right? Just do that with this one, with this one, and you can do it with this one. So all your queens are always injecting over and over and over and over again. And this will keep your energy low if it's too high at the end of the game. One more quick thing I want to talk about with camera hotkeys and why it's important is that let's say you have this third base being attacked and you have another base being attacked in your main, and you want to go through each one to make sure you defend it correctly. You already have your base key set up, your base hotkey set up already with F1, F2, F3. You can easily jump back and forth between them easily. So this will help you defend drops a lot more easily, defend attacks from all over the maps, because you know exactly where or what button to push to go to what location.
Mutation.
Alright, so after talking about the queen inject method, let's talk about creep spread and why it's important very quickly. So you see all this creep spread all over the place. Why is it so good? Well, the thing is, like I said in my other video, every unit gains about a 30% extra speed increase on creep. But not only that, these queens take forever to walk when they're not on creep. And it's very important for you to have these creep queens in your army later on in the game when you have big units like these ultras. So let's say I'm going to take these ultras out. Alt 6. Right. What would you rather have? Would you rather have 3 ultras without any queens, or would you rather have 3 ultras with queens, right? The thing is, these queens, they help you heal. You can use transfused, and this heals 125 life. So pretty much, you can just keep healing these queens over and over again, right? Heal, transfuse, 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 right? The reason why this is important and how it has to deal with creep spread is, if you have them off creep, and you don't have any creep spread, look how long it takes for them to move. It takes them ages to walk across the map. This is the slowest unit that you can have in this game if it's off creep, right? So it's very, very, very important for you to spread your creep, so then you can have those queens with your army, so you can tank and heal these meaty, important units, right? I mean, they will get there eventually, but look how fast this army is moving compared to these queens. They take forever. So what you have to do, you can just select these and just transfuse, 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 right? So that's why it's really important for you to spread creep. One last thing about macro is that for Zerg, you want to have only one queen injecting each hatchery at one time. For each hatchery that you have, you want to have one queen injecting it, always. This will help you keep your larva production up and allow you to keep your money low. One tip that I have for macroing as Zerg and not being supply capped is that for every hatchery that you have injecting with a queen, you want to create that many overlords before you're making your units. So let's say I have 1, 2, 3, and 4 queens injecting, right? So let's say I want to make an army. What do I have to do? I would create first 4 overlords because I have 4 queens injecting. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then after that, I would create the rest of my army, right? Make whatever, blah, 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 make whatever you want. This will allow your overlords to pop at the same time as your army does. So what happens is that, let's say I'm at 100, right? And I make 4 overlords and then make all my units. Once I make all my units, I'm supply capped at 100. But since I made those 4 overlords before that army, those overlords will spawn again after the army is created, and it will increase my supply cap for the next round of units. So this will allow you to consistently increase your supply at a steady rate and make it easier for you to not get supply cap. This will help you with your macro a lot. Try that out, see how it goes for you. I've just kind of been implementing that from the beginning, and my macro slips every now and then, but that's only because I forget to do that. Once you start doing that, your macro will be really, really good. But yeah, this is just for everything that you have to do, or the Zerg macro that you have to do behind all of your micro and everything else. I know it's a little bit hard to start off with, but these are just some tips and tricks that you can learn slowly. You don't have to learn everything all at once. These are just tips that you practice, and over time you'll get better. That's how everybody pretty much starts. Everybody doesn't start good at master's level. You just play and practice until you get better, until everything becomes muscle memory. So yeah, let's recap on what I went over. First, I went over the general usage of Control, Alt, and Shift, which are the hotkeys. I went over my preferred grouping layout, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I like to keep my hotkeys here. You can take a look at them if you want. Third, we went over the camera hotkeys and their benefits. 4, we went over my preferred queen inject method, which is the shift method, the camera hotkey method, which is this, 2, 3, 4. And lastly, we went over the importance of creep spreading and the general queen usage, and why it's important for queens to be in your army where they heal, and they creep spread and they give you all this vision on this map, and also the speed of your units as well. I think that's about it in this video. For my next video, I'm going to be going over more into depth about ways to reinforce your army, how to manage your army when they're being created. Pretty much special tricks and tips that you can do with these Zerg eggs that are coming out right now. There's certain methods that you can use for them, and I'll show you in the next video. Alright, that's that. If you like this video, or if it helped you at least just a little bit, hit the like and subscribe button below. It helps me a lot. This will let you know when my next video is going to be out. It's going to be about how to micromanage your army when they're coming out of the eggs, and some tips and tricks that I can give you with managing them a lot better. I like to help everybody with their improve their Starcraft 2 gaming experience, so please, in the comments below, just let me know what you want to see in the next video, or if you have any questions, and I'll try to get back to them. I'll try to answer them in the comments below, or maybe in the next video as well. So yeah, that's it. I just want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.